since I've taken some time off, like I even took time off of lifting because I was like, I just have to, like, I can't mentally deal with this. And I wasn't sure, like, at that time, like March, April, like, am I gonna go back? Like, do I want to do this again? So I'm like, I need some time. But now, like, that my body, because obviously it gave my body time to heal. My body feels the best that it has ever felt. And like, I've been doing some like a squat cycle the last 2 weeks, and some of the people that were helping me, they're like, "Wow, you're fast," and I said, I feel like I'm squatting differently. Like, I don't know what it is, but like, I felt like I had power, like, for the first time. And I think it's because my body wasn't so beat down, or like I'm feeling myself, or just all these little things that come together. And it gave me a second of like, oh, like, this is, like, I can be better, you know? Like, it just was like a moment of hope.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Invictus Mindset Podcast. Today's guest is a 7 times CrossFit Games athlete, finishing first as a teen in 2018, and has 4 Games finishes within the top 10. She's one of the fiercest competitors in the sport and took the courageous leap to step away from competition in 2023 to focus on herself and her healing journey while granting so many the permission to be more vulnerable. She's one of my favorite athletes in the sport. Today I welcome Miss Haley Adams. Welcome to the show, yeah?
Thank you. I'm excited to get to talking and chatting.
You've done such a courageous thing this year. And before we jump into, your story and some of the big decisions that you've made this year, how have you been? What's been going on in the world of Haley lately? Earlier today I saw you floating around on a boat and soaking up some sun.
Dude, life is like so fun now. Like, I have things to do and new friends, new people in my life. I feel like I have purpose again, which is a really interesting thing to discover about yourself, and it feels like it's been gone for a long time. But yeah, life is super fun now. I'm super blessed with a really good family, lots of good friends, and just having a good time out here.
I really, really admire that. And I think it's so cool too, because so many people get stuck in the rat race. They finish school or they finish something, they get into their career, and life happens. They got to start paying bills. They have the pressures to live up to societal expectations. And they never really give themselves the permission to be like, what do I want? What do I want my life to look like?
Right.
And you did that this year. You reevaluated, you self-reflected, and you're like, I've done some really cool things. But I think there's more out there for Haley Adams. What was that self-reflection journey kind of like? And how did you ultimately make the decision to, say, you know what? I'm going to have the bravery to focus on me for a change.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't easy, but my whole life I've been doing some kind of extreme sport. So I went from basically any kind of elementary level to middle school level sport. And then I competed in gymnastics, which is pretty extreme too, for a while. And then I was doing gymnastics and CrossFit for a while. So I never really had like a transition of anything. I just went from one extreme to another. But CrossFit has been my life for like 8 years now, 8 or 9. But the thing about me is like, I can't just have fun with something and just like go into it. Like, I go to extremes to be the best, or just be the best version of myself. So that is a good thing sometimes, but because I was so obsessed and the way that I was going about things, it was becoming so bad, especially the last 2 years. I could really see like where things started to go downhill. I just didn't have fun with it anymore. I was miserable all the time. I wasn't the person that I wanted to be to my family or friends, because it was just weighing me down so heavily that it was just hard to be who Haley was. I basically had no social life, just all of that stuff, just terrible. And I really, really had a hard time this off season, especially after not doing so well at the games this year. I say not well, but 9th was like soul crushing to me. I thought it was the worst thing ever. So it's not. But then it felt like the worst thing ever. So this off season, I just fought with myself so badly, because I was like, we're going to do everything that we can next year to, not let that happen again. So I was fighting with myself with that, putting all this pressure, while I was also just like, I knew something was going on inside of me of like, we need to stop, like this has to slow down, or like you're not going to sustain it. And I would have all these like mini breakdowns all the time, which was not really like me. And then I came home around Christmas and just had a complete breakdown of like, I can't handle this anymore. Like, I'm so tired of living this way. Like, it's just not worth any trophy or medal, like feeling like this every day. So I realized that if I wanted to take a step forward and be better and maybe be one of the better ones in the sport one day, like that meant taking a step back, and not just for the sport. I want to make that clear. It's like for myself too, and for my life in the next 10, 15 years, like setting myself up for success and not just having nothing, like having
Mm-hmm.
an identity and, just wanting to be who Haley is again. So that was kind of a big factor of deciding to take a step back.
Haley, it's so amazing to hear how well spoken you are.
Oh, thank you.
I've known you for quite some time,
Yeah.
and it's very cool to see how much you've really done the deep work. And it's interesting too, because rock bottom's relative to the individual.
Mm-hmm.
And I think pain, it's such an interesting word. There's like pain of a workout. But then there's this deep intrinsic pain that doesn't quite meet the eye but must be felt. And it seems to be within pain. I'm definitely guilty of this too. It's like it's the only thing that really gets me to change. Where I'm like, this isn't working anymore. I'm trying my best to do X, Y, and Z. And it sounds like you got to a point where you're just like, enough is enough. I'm drawing the line in the sand, and a change is going to be made. I'm willing to suffer whatever consequences or face any sort of societal bullies, for lack of a better metaphorical analogy, in pursuit of maximizing the rest of your life. And I think that's so powerful, because I think an interesting place I'd like to take the conversation next is so much in this world we're validated and loved based on our function. What does Haley Adams do? That's who she is. Where did she land on the leaderboard? That's the amount of respect we're going to give her. You now know that that's not the way it has to be, and that's not the way it should be. But sometimes it feels that way, and it leads to this insurmountable pressure. What are your thoughts on how this deep level of pain kind of helped you, or forced you rather, to change and grow? And also, what are your thoughts on being loved now for Haley as opposed to what Haley does?
That was one of the hardest things for me too. Was like I felt like I was trying to please everyone else because I just wanted to be people to be proud of me or love me for doing well. So when I didn't do well, I felt like I was a failure and I let everyone down, and that just I wasn't worthy of anything. Which is something that I, again, really struggle with. It felt like the last 2 years I was almost just competing for love, which couldn't be the farthest thing from being true, because my crew loves me no matter what. But I had told myself all of these lies in my head that were also eating me alive. So when I decided to take a step back, I was really, really scared to even mention it or tell anyone, because I was like, again, that fear in my head of, oh no, like these people are going to be like, wow, she's just being lazy and wants to take the year off, like, what a failure. So I was terrified to tell my friends and family. But when I told them, and they were like, thank God, Haley, like, we're worried about you. Like, we just want you to be happy and healthy, and we just want you to do what's best for you, was the first step in me being able to heal that process, because, again, that was a really big factor in all my trauma of just feeling I was competing for love and just trying to please everyone else. So just hearing those words from my friends and family helped so much.
I'm sure that was an incredibly special moment. It sounds like, too, it's not just hearsay. It's not just in one ear, out the other. I'm going to say it in the public eye because it sounds good. It's like you're actually living it.
Yeah.
And you're actually taking it to heart and doing the actionables to follow suit on that. And I'm sure this wasn't like a contributing factor in the decision, but what's so cool to me, I think of it kind of as like a domino effect, where you made such an important decision for you that has helped you grow, heal, evolve, and thrive. Trident Coffee is sponsoring this episode of the Invictus Mindset podcast. My guys over at Trident taught me something really important this last year, that we are all a bundle of stories, both good and bad, and everything in between. At Trident, they're storytellers. All of their cold brews remind their customers that they are part of something bigger than themselves. They help create connections through symbology and storytelling that engage their customers on an emotional level, and this distinguishes them from other coffee brands. You can find Trident in Imperial Beach and in Coronado. They offer over 14 plus nitro cold brews along with dairy-free options. You can find the perfect brew and pair it with one of their treats from their keto bakery. All these options will allow you to support your health and fitness journey with Trident Coffee. They're more than just a coffee company. You can check them out over at tridentcoffee.com and use code Invictus20 for 20% off online and in tap rooms. Once again, that's tridentcoffee.com. Use code Invictus20 for 20% off online and in tap rooms. Take your coffee experience to the next level. Two important factors for us over at Invictus Mindset are true care and attention to detail. My friends over at RX Smart Gear have been bringing innovative fitness tools to the market since 2009. From their award-winning Evo speed ropes to their amazing gymnastics grips to their line of inflatable fitness equipment, they're constantly looking to problem solve within the fitness industry. They're always allowing us to have our gear work for us rather than against us. Hop on over to RX Smart Gear and use discount code Invictus Mindset to shop their latest cutting edge gear. Have your gear work with you and not against you. But you also, as I mentioned briefly in the intro, you granted permission to so many other people out there that are living lives of quiet desperation, where they're like, I feel stuck. I don't know the way out. I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. And now it's allowed this conversation, at the very least, to float to the surface, where it's like, hey, we can actually talk about the things that are REAL and not just have the highlight reel on social media of REEL.
Right. The amount of people that talked to me or came up to me and told me how they were feeling or just things that they've gone through, honestly, it made me really sad, but it also it validated what I did. Like, I knew when I posted that and was so vulnerable that I wanted to help someone else. So just hearing other people's stories and knowing that you're not alone, like, it can feel super lonely and rock bottom, and that, why is this happening to me? Like, everyone else their life seems perfect and I'm just over here barely getting by, you know? But I was so glad that I did what I did because, again, I just wanted to help someone, and I hope that I made an impact that will last and hopefully save someone else.
I really admire that. I also think it sets you up now because you're an advocate for mental health. You are a leader, and you're a little bit of a trailblazer. You're paving a path for other people to now spark the conversation, spark their healing journey, and realize that there's more to the human experience than just the outcome of your craft. And I think that that's incredibly honorable. I also think it's really cool because it helps broaden your perspective on life as to what's next. There will be a time where, you know, your body and your mind are like, you know what, CrossFit was a chapter in my life, and maybe in some ways it will be, but there's going to be a new chapter one day, and none of us know when that day will be. Yeah. And I know you're back in the lab. You're back cooking in the kitchen. You're now chasing the pump a little bit. You're having fun. I see the corners of your mouth moving out towards your ears a little bit. And you know, after stepping away, you know, maybe tinkering a little bit in the bodybuilding space, doing a little bit of zone 2 work, linking out in beautiful nature. What's training looked like recently, and what's been your cognitive, you know, wins within training again?
So back in January, February, when I was deciding to take the year off, I had such a resentment towards CrossFit and the gym because it had caused me so much harm that I couldn't see any of the good in it anymore. Like, I didn't want to be in a CrossFit gym. I didn't want to hear the word Metcon. I didn't want to hear thruster. I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to be around it because, again, it just caused me so much harm that I was like, I just can't. but slowly, like I had started to go back to a CrossFit gym, but I mostly would go to like Planet Fitness with my mom and just do cardio and do pump sessions just because let's move my body and let's be healthy. Like you don't have to red line, like let's just move, like let's rebuild this, relationship with exercise. But over, I'd say the last few months, it was after the semifinals, I was like, I think I'm okay to do this again. Like I think I can start doing these movements and these workouts again. And I slowly started. And I was okay. I wasn't feeling panicky or, the same emotions because I was like, okay, if you start to feel like that, like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. And I didn't feel it at all, so I was like, okay, I knew that I took enough time from it and just kind of healed my relationship. So now I've added in CrossFit again, some strength stuff, well, lots of strength stuff, but yeah, it's been fun and hanging out with people in the gym again or my CrossFit friends, and it's been a good time.
It's so cool. It's so great when you like step away from something. It gives you this gratitude for it. It makes you miss it a little bit. It makes you realize how special it can be. But
Exactly.
too much of anything really becomes a bad thing, really.
It became bad.
And I was thankful to cross paths with you briefly at semifinals, and I felt a different frequency from you. Like you definitely had a different energy about you, and I just remember seeing like a look in your eye, and it's like she's gonna be okay. Like I felt like this is right. She's on the right path towards her peak expression, and I just remember like I'm excited to watch this unravel and unfold a little bit. I'm gonna take a step back, and I'm thankful that we get to cross paths today to kind of paint a picture for people too, to kind
Yeah.
of understand what's been going on.
Yeah, for sure. That it is funny because that time was like a bit of a turning point for me. I was still really unsure what I was feeling being around the whole scene because I was like went from being around nothing of CrossFit to just, oh, let's go to semifinals.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
John took me there. Um, and that was a bit of a turning point that weekend. I was like, I think I'm okay. Like I can do this and be around this again.
Totally. And I'm sure going was not easy.
No,
Like just their premature anxiety of anticipation and going there and the questions and the looks and the people that, you once were, next to in lanes and, all the notoriety that comes from that. I'm sure like posting on stories, you'll get DMs from people asking all kinds of questions that, can serve as triggers, but you leaned into that. You weren't afraid of it. And, what were your thoughts that weekend? Were you kind of thinking like, were you thinking about paces and times, or were you kind of watching like, you know what, I'm just here to spectate and be a fan right now and
yeah,
support?
it was really nice to catch up with people because I hadn't been around anyone since I had stepped back. But there were definitely a lot of emotions. But on Sunday evening after the award ceremony, I had a really long cry with Bijan, and that's when I started to feel all of these emotions. It wasn't like a sad cry, but it was like, oh, that was me last year on the first place podium. But then looking back of like, wow, isn't not a great spot then? Like, but I could do it again. Like I felt peace that I was okay. So
I think when you feel peace, that's one of the greatest moments, right? It might not be the first place. It might not be the huge trophy or the huge check that you're cashing, but it's like, whoa, like I actually am living to the beat of my own drum. The possibilities are endless.
yeah,
And in the words of Frank Sinatra, you did it your way.
yeah, I did it my
I
way.
think
And
that's
like
a I think that's a really cool thing.
even looking at first place last year, I wasn't satisfied. I was like, wow, you barely won. Like all the stuff, like doesn't matter. You got the games, like why can't I just be happy? Like I know obviously I'm an athlete, but like I was never ever once just fulfilled on the inside for me. It was always what everyone else thought of me or what everyone else wanted for me or this or that. Like I never just once took a moment and was like, "Good job, Haley." Like you worked really hard for that. Never once was it ever good enough for myself. And I'm like, I never want to feel like that again.
Hmm.
You know?
Man, that's so cool to hear you say those words. I hope somebody listening to that can experience that and have that self dialogue and that self talk in their journey.
Hmm.
And I want to go back a little bit to your childhood and your upbringing. You mentioned kind of involving yourself in a wide array of sports, and then ultimately you found gymnastics. What was your introduction to sport like as a child, and how did you ultimately start to develop this huge arsenal of athletic tools?
Yeah, so before I started gymnastics, I did softball, soccer, basketball. I did swimming, cross country, and then I was like, I want to do gymnastics, just like every girl wants to do gymnastics. So I begged my mom, and she took me. I ended up getting pretty good, pretty fast actually. I was a little bit older to be starting gymnastics too, and kind of tall, but I wanted to do it. And I wanted to compete. So I ended up competing pretty fast. I think I was in sixth grade, maybe. Yeah, sixth
Okay.
grade. Um, and yeah, so I stayed with that for like 4 years. And then I kind of just got burnt out on it. And yeah, but basically I've just done sports my whole life. Like there hasn't been a chapter in my life where I haven't done some kind of sport at that moment.
Yeah, totally.
Always
When you
not.
look at some of the kids that are starting, like some of the kids are, in the kids area in a CrossFit gym and they're watching mom and dad. And then, from the moment they, are old enough to attend a class, like they're in CrossFit. This episode is brought to you by HVMN, Health via Modern Nutrition. They launched the world's first ketone drink in 2017, and then in 2022 launched the version 2 of their exogenous ketone product line called Ketone IQ. I found that incorporating ketones into my morning routine increased my daily focus and energy. The beauty of this product is that you can stack it. It doesn't even have to replace your morning routine. My morning routine looks like taking the dog on a walk, hitting my daily shot of Ketone IQ, hopping in the cold plunge, and then finishing it off with a nice Trident coffee while I soak up some morning sunlight. Try out some ketones for yourself by using the code Invictus for 20% off Ketone IQ. Ketones are a super efficient fuel for your brain that leaves you feeling energized and clear-headed. Give it a shot. I promise you won't regret it. Once again, use code Invictus for 20% off Ketone IQ. Move fast and break shit. This is one of the core values at LSKD and something that we fully resonate with here at the Invictus Mindset Podcast. LSKD develops functional sportswear with a streetwear aesthetic that's on a mission to inspire you to chase the vibe through sport, fitness, and adventure. Through my experiences with LSKD products and their team members, I have found a brand that I can call home that keeps me performing at my highest level through fitness and business. I train daily in the rep shorts and love the versatility they offer, so I can go from training at the gym directly to meetings, client consults, running errands, or preparing for podcasts. The LSKB vibe has finally reached San Diego, and we want you to experience it too. Go to us.lskd.co to start shopping today. We want to inspire you to chase the vibe. Do you think that is maybe a good thing, or do you think kids should maybe do what you did, where you involve yourself in like so many different forms of play and sport and different things to move your body in different planes, different
Yeah.
ranges of motion, and different energy systems?
I think CrossFit can be a great tool to help other sports, but I'm a pretty big advocate of like I think kids should play sports because it teaches you a lot. It teaches you how to be a team player, um, and just also how to lose, right? Like it just teaches you way more than just being athletic. But I think CrossFit can be a great tool in that way. But I think kids should play sports for as long as they can.
Yeah, I agree. I love that you said teaches you how to lose. Losing is hard. It sucks. But
Yeah,
like in those moments, you learn to self-evaluate. You learn to deal with the stress of that and how to respond to it. Or in some cases, you may shut down from it. And then you have to kind of like sit in that space too
yeah,
and figure out how to overcome that bump in the road.
yeah. Like I feel like I got good at CrossFit very fast because I had all the sports background. Like cross country, gymnastics, swimming, like those are the main ones obviously, but I think that's why I got good at it fast.
Totally. What are your thoughts on the gymnastics element where, they're obviously watching your lines. They're watching, certain elements and constantly judging. There's definitely a challenging component in relation to like body composition and being a certain size, which then leads to needing to eat a certain way, having a lifestyle a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of benefits to the detail orientation of how you choose to live your life and the lifestyle factors outside of the sport. But definitely, in some ways, I've seen it in many, many different people. It can almost own you a little bit. It can almost like live rent-free between your ears.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on gymnastics there?
Yeah, I definitely think there can be some toxic stuff going on in gymnastics. I remember like always feeling insecure because I was the taller one, or a lot of the girls were smaller than me, so I felt like I wasn't good enough. I remember there would be some days where I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna pack a bag of lettuce for my lunch in school. I'm like, I'm in 7th grade, and I'm packing a bag of iceberg lettuce and eating it out of the bag. Like what? Because it does put those thoughts in your head of
Yeah,
I'm not good enough for this or that. Like, I just, and you're so young, like, and you're already just trying to get this validation and feeling like you're not good enough. And I mean, don't get me wrong, gymnastics is amazing in a lot of ways, but I'm sure there's a lot out there that girls have said and about gymnastics that probably speak better than to what I can. But it can definitely not be the best mentally for you, but it definitely got me
totally.
where I was at physically. So,
I was gonna say, like, there's also a ton of benefit to it with regards to body awareness. I'm
oh
sure,
yeah,
the integration of gymnastics elements when you came to CrossFit, the learning curve probably wasn't as high. You could
right.
pick it up probably pretty
Yeah, like
quick,
I
which
had
is
to bar
cool.
myself like immediately,
Yeah,
and that's hard to teach sometimes.
yeah,
So
for
a
sure.
lot
How did Simone Biles' recent journey, did that impact you at all? Was that something that you kind of paid attention to?
it's it's kind of crazy because I've compared the situation a little bit. I remember when she was going through all of that at the Olympics. That was like 3 years ago.
Hmm.
I still, I mean, I wasn't having too many mental problems. Obviously, I was a bit unhappy, but not compared to how I was like the last year or so. And I remember when like watching her, I'm like, wow, she's trained so much for this. Like, how does she just like not do it? Like, and it's like mental health. Like, I couldn't wrap my head around it. Like, I did not understand. And now, after going through something, like when your mental health suffers, everything suffers. And like when you get it, you get it. Like, I 100% understand what that girl went through.
Hmm.
And because I feel like I went through the same thing. So seeing her back competing again, and she looks so happy. Like, I've seen so
Yeah,
many
she
videos
does.
of her. It's really, refreshing for me to see. And yeah, I think it's a really beautiful journey that she shared it with the world as well. But just to see her back out there gives me hope too.
Yeah, totally. I'd like to one day sit and have like the two of you in the same room and
Okay.
help like spark like some really fun dialogue from
Yeah.
this time and use that to help motivate and inspire and educate other young girls kind of going through a similar journey. It'd be really fun to have
Yeah.
two high profile athletes that have done it in similar but definitely different arenas sharing their story.
Yeah, she definitely for sure impacted a lot of people because her audience is a lot of young girls. So
Hmm.
she definitely had a big impact.
For sure. What's your growing relationship been with Mal O'Brien? And how is she doing? And I'm sure that there was dialogue and conversation between the two of you guys and her ultimately making her decision to
Yeah.
step away as well.
We've been friends since the 2021 games. We kind of just saw each other in the back, kind of hit it off back there, and have been friends ever since. We Snapchat every day.
That's cool.
But yeah, I was really proud of her decision because I knew exactly how she felt. And it's not easy. Like, it's probably one of, if not the hardest things that I've ever done, especially to having to go through it publicly and have all of these eyes on you. But just
Yeah.
to kind of have a friend through it all, like even when I was going through it, like she was my friend. Like I went to her most days and because she knew what was going on. Like most people like can't relate to what you're going through. Like even my parents, like I can talk to them all day, but they don't know what it's like to sit in the gym all day and just grind your life away and just kill yourself in every workout. Like they don't get it. So it was really nice to have someone close to my age too, and like she knew what it was like just to kind of talk to every day. So I really, really value our friendship, and yeah, I think it's one that I'll have like for a really long time. And
That's so
she's
special.
amazing. Yeah.
And you're totally spot on. There's so many people. I'll just use this as a poor example, but so many people say, "Oh, must be nice to be able to train all day," and it's like, yeah,
Oh,
it's not that easy. Number one, number two, most people, if you had the opportunity to train all day, you just wouldn't do it.
yeah.
And it's one of those things that like the intrinsic motivation that it takes to do that and the discipline. We are beyond excited to be working with Wizard Sciences for total brain and body optimization. This partnership came through personal experience with the benefits of their incredible product line and a deep human connection with their founder and former guest, Ion Mitchell. The Olympic RX supplement is created to enhance your overall training. When taking this, do not expect your body to feel different, but look for key indicators within workouts to see what this product can really do. I found increases in my strength and that I had an extra gear when working through tough cardio sessions. The Olympic contains beta-alanine, removes inflammation and oxidative stress at a mitochondrial level, increases muscle recruitment, and is full of carbon-60, which is considered the ultimate anti-aging and anti-inflammatory weapon available. Give Wizard Sciences a try and become as close to limitless as you can get. Use code Invictus Mindset for 15% off your order. Once again, that's Invictus Mindset for 15% off your order. And honestly, to manifest the high level of intensity day after day after day, you got to tweak. And, you don't really want to train around it. You kind of train around it, but you kind of don't.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's so many different modalities that I think the world does not conceptualize around a high-level professional athlete.
That comment is probably one of my biggest pet peeves. But it's not
Totally.
just training, right? As soon as you leave the gym, you're counting your calories. You're wondering what you're going to do tomorrow. Like you're trying to take care of this injury and you're trying to recover and you're trying to go to bed on time. You're trying to wake up. Like it's nonstop. Like it's not just, oh, I'm going to work out and do all this fun stuff all day. No, it is not that. It is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And also, not to mention what you just described as the natural recovery process. That doesn't even include life.
Yeah.
You still are going to have days where you got to go to the DMV. You got to get on the internet and answer emails. You still have obligations for social posts. You still got to go to the grocery store. There's still life. And sometimes that gets lost in the midst of like, oh, must be nice to train all day. But in reality, the reward of the gym to the recreational human being of, hey, I'm going to go for an hour a day and I'm going to move and I'm going to chase a pump. Like they may have optimal body composition, have some really good performance metrics as well. But those that are truly professionals, man, it's tough.
It's really hard. It's not just fun.
Yeah.
Not just fun.
I think it's very important to paint that picture. Going back to Mal, have you spoken to her? Has she been able to kind of step away and heal and do some fun things? And, you know, their HWPO crew seems like they roll tight and everybody's kind of in the mix pretty frequently.
Like I said, we have a snap streak that we keep up with every day. I think she's just out living her life too, you know, working on herself and just taking it step by step, kind of the same way that I am, and just enjoying life and just kind of, just seeing what it's all about, you know.
Totally. One of my favorite phrases is you're truly living, you're not just existing. And CrossFit no longer has invisible handcuffs on you.
Yeah.
And Haley, when we look back at your journey, at least from my humble lenses from the outside looking in, it really appeared like you developed a very special relationship with Tasia.
Yeah.
And, you know, before we get into that, though, I just want to note real quickly, like, I think all of us are going to go through things in our lives, and there's going to be those people that just, they just happen to be there. And maybe they don't always do anything. Maybe they don't always say anything. But just their sheer presence and knowing that you can feel their energy is so special and so healing. And I've crossed paths with Tasia a few times, and she's a very special woman. It was very cool to see the two of you guys form this deep trust and this sister-like love with one another.
Yeah.
In the pursuit of her exit kind of from competitive CrossFit and kind of co-piloting your journey towards the top of the sport.
Yeah. So Tasia is just an angel in my life. I do not deserve her. She is the kindest person that I know. But our relationship started back in 2019, when they had a team. So it was Rich, Dre, Tasia, and China. And obviously China lived in California. And I had made the individual games this year, but they're like, well, Haley, you're doing our team training. So I hopped in every day with the team, and Tasia and I would always pair up. And I was still kind of new to Tennessee. So I was a little shy, and she kind of just took me under her wing, and we had so much fun every day trying to beat the boys, and that's really where we started to get close. And then the next year when she decided to step back, and she spent the whole summer training the COVID games with me, like every day. Even though she wasn't competing anymore, she didn't miss a day, was always showed up for me. And then it was a no-brainer when we could only take one person. I was like, well, I'm taking Tasia. But that weekend that I competed in California for the COVID games really, really brought us close, because there was so much that went on behind the scenes that was just insane. But just getting to experience all of that with her, and she knows me better than probably most people. And she not only just knows me in CrossFit, she knows all my struggles, and she's just someone in my life that I can come to no matter what, and she's saved me from so much, and I'll never be able to repay her for what she's done for me, and she's just amazing, and everyone needs a Tasia in their life. Seriously.
I love that. COVID, what a time.
Oh my goodness.
So hard to train, different across state lines, varying opinions, so many different narratives being pushed by the media. But specifically in the CrossFit space, most gyms were closed. It was hard to get training in. Then when you did figure out training, whether that was in public places or potentially in your home, there was so much judgment that came with it. Why are you focused on training? You should be focused on the bigger problems in the world. And we weren't sure how the season was going to go. There was a lot of fluctuation, changes with all kinds of rules and parameters. Are the games going to happen? Are they not going to happen? Where are they going to take place? Who's going to be allowed to go? And ultimately, they did take place. How did that year impact you? And what was training like that year? I'm sure there was fluctuation with inconsistency for sure.
That year stands out by far the most to me out of any year, just because it was, number one, insane. Also, our season went from like February to, if you made it, the end of October, which was also, if you know anything about CrossFit, insane to be training that hard for that long. But it was also really special that year because I'd come off a decent finish in 2019, but I wasn't so sure if I could pull off the top 5 in stage 1, because I was like, I don't know. I was convinced I got lucky the year before because I had so many people hating on me because of, I have to bring it up, but just for my strength. So I thought that maybe that year was a fluke, and I was like, well, I'm just not going to get my hopes up. I'm just going to try my best to make it, like, blah, blah, blah. So I ended up making it, which was a huge surprise. I'm sure everyone's seen the video of me making it. But that was probably one of my favorite moments, just because I had my small group of people, obviously because COVID there. But I just got to share that moment with all of them, and they're like, it just really solidified the whole year for me, and how it had been such a rough year for everyone. It felt like there was just a little good that had come out of it, and I was so excited that I was going to be top 5 in aromas in California.
That's so cool. Yeah, it was a special time. And
yeah.
Haley, you're such a fierce competitor. I love watching you compete because it's like, I grew up watching Michael Jordan, and, within the basketball world, it's like there's a lot of shit talking. You're just like, you're friends off the court, but once you get on the court, you're not my friend anymore. I'm trying to beat you, and I don't care. Yeah. And I'm going to look at you a certain way, and I'm going to push your buttons, and I'm going to do all the things because that is what it is to be a competitor. And you get that. But sometimes in CrossFit, I feel like there's this niceness where everybody's like overly bubbly and nice. And you bring this like different swagger to the sport where like, I mean, we've all seen the pictures of like the Haley Adam like
My
stare to the
face.
side.
Yeah.
It's so good. And you mentioned, I mean, people are going to hate, right? They're going to talk about strength numbers and this, that, and the other. And it's like, okay, you can hate on whatever numerical values on the one event in the sport that's a 1 rep max, but you're not going to acknowledge all the other things that I'm top 5 in. Like, let's have an honest conversation and call a
Yeah,
spade a
that doesn't
spade.
matter. That doesn't matter.
But what is cool is no matter what, you've still been working on your strength. It's something that has, lived a little bit in your program design, and it's something that you have really put a lot of time and energy into in previous years and obviously into the now. What is that like? Like having this thing that like I'm sure a lot of people out there can relate where it's like, man, I'm trying so hard.
Yeah.
And some people that don't try that hard, they just get the results really fast. And then for other people based on, their body composition, their genetics, it's just like it's a slower progress.
Right. Like
What advice, would you give to people on that same journey, and how's it been for you trying to acquire bigger strength numbers?
everything else in CrossFit, I felt like came to me so easily and so fast. But like that was the one thing from the start that like I had trouble squatting 65 pounds when I first started CrossFit, and I made the games that year. Like it just did not come naturally to me, and it obviously my form wasn't great, but even when my form got better, like my numbers still were not even close. And it was something from the beginning that has just like constantly been like in my ear of just like, you have to do this. I'm like, I'm trying so hard. And especially as I started to get more like recognition, like I don't know, it's so hard to have the one thing you're just trying so hard. And I've done everything. I've done every squat program, this, that, and it's taken me a lot slower than it is everyone else. And I'm like okay with that now, but like even last year in the off season, I'm like, okay, we're gonna squat every day because that's what you have to do, you piece of crap. Like we're gonna do it. Like we're gonna
Mm-hmm.
get big, and it's just not like that sometimes. And I'm thankful for the other, you know, fitness I have, and that it gets me top 10 every year. But like, this is just a little bit slower, and I'm still working on it. I'm trying, and that's just
Totally.
okay.
For sure. I always love the statement, never allow what you can't do affect what you can do.
Yeah.
And I think you did a really good job of that. Like even in the off season, you're like, you know what, I'm going to back off some of my Metcon, some of my conditioning in pursuit of, different versions of small off squat cycles and, integrating those into slightly different ways, like not just squatting, but Olympic weightlifting and pressing and pulling and different deadlift cycles as well, and trying anything and everything in pursuit of trying to get stronger and get better.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because you did such a good job of pursuing that. But I also think it's important to note in doing that, you're going to sacrifice sometimes the things that you're really good at already.
Hmm.
And so it's this, CrossFit's so interesting because it's this give and take. You're going to get one thing, but you got to give up something else. And
Yeah.
it's like a game of percentages. How much do you want to give up to try to get incremental progress over here, when over here you're potentially, a top 5 finish?
Right. It's really interesting actually. Since I've taken some time off, like I even took time off of lifting because I was like, I just have to, like I can't mentally deal with this. And I wasn't sure like at that time, like March, April, like, am I gonna go back? Like, do I want to do this again? So I'm like, I need some time. But now, like that my body, because obviously it gave my body time to heal. My body feels the best that it has ever felt. And like I've been doing some like a squat cycle the last 2 weeks, and some of the people that were helping me, they're like, "Wow, you're fast," and I'm like, I said, I feel like I'm squatting differently. Like I don't know what it is, but like I felt like I had power like for the first time, and I think it's because my body wasn't so beat down, or like I'm
Hmm.
feeling myself, or just all these little things that come together, and it gave me a second of like, oh, like this is like I can be better, like it just was a moment of hope.
I love that.
Great.
It's also just a reminder that sometimes less is more and
Hmm.
more is
For
not
me,
better. Better is better.
yeah, I'm
Allowing those
really
tissues to heal rather
yes.
than every day being like, oh, those first few squats are a little sticky.
Every day, just like slamming it in the ground. I'm like, maybe I just like, because the thing is, I feel like it was so easy for people to be like, she needs to do more strength. This is blah blah blah. I think I was doing too much on top of like a ton of metcons, but I'd do like 30 squat cleans per time at 185 and like squat again after that. And like I think I was honestly just doing too much. But I was just
Hmm.
working so hard to get better that I just thought that was helping me.
Yeah, for sure. It's such a great learning lesson to try to figure out where is that red line.
Yeah,
And I don't necessarily mean like the Metcon red line, but like what can your individual body recover from?
right.
And sometimes when you have an incredible work ethic, as you do, sometimes you're like, self-reliance is everything. I'm going to push through every obstacle. The haters are going to see. I'm going to use that as intrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
I'm going to eat more food. I'm going to sleep more. I'm going to do everything in my power to prove everybody wrong. And then in doing so, you don't even realize that you're almost hurting yourself
Yeah.
by doing too much, but it's with positive intention. So you can't carry regret with it, but it's just, man, I wish I would have learned that like a split second sooner.
Yeah. No, trust me, I agree. Especially when I was younger, I would just do trash volume just so much, and it was just like I look back and I'm like, oh my gosh, like how did I not get hurt? Like I'm very lucky I did not.
I'm
But
sure it taught you a lot, though. I'm sure it was a state change, probably helped your mind a little bit
oh
as
yeah,
you were navigating just different things within your growth
yeah,
trajectory. What was it like making the move over to Mayhem? Mayhem has obviously gained a lot of notoriety.
yeah,
A ton of champions have come out of there. They've got a lot of media coming out of there. Obviously, Rich and the crew is down there. And, how's that been for you with the constant influx of athletes coming in and out? And I'm sure there's never a shortage of training partners.
yeah. So I moved there in 2018. I was only 17, little baby. Moved away from my home in North Carolina, just with the intention to be on one of their teams, which fell away very fast when I made the games as an individual, and we're just like, okay, you're going. Um, but yeah, I've obviously had some of the best training partners in the sport there. They helped shaped me into the athlete that I am today, and obviously I've made a lot of close friends out of the gym. But yeah, there's always a ton of different personalities there. You never know what you're gonna get, including myself. Yeah, it's a really great place to train, and I'm thankful for what they've given me in the sport and the opportunities that they've given me. And yeah.
Do any major moments kind of stand out for you of any particular workouts with anybody there? Something funny happened, or you remember, just like you mentioned previously, like a turning point where you gained this personal confidence around like, wow, this is really what I'm meant to do?
I wouldn't say there was one turning point, just because the first year I was there, I just got beat down so much. Like, it was so much volume, and these people were so good that I was just like, well, we're just gonna keep trying. Um, so yeah, we also did so many workouts, so I just can't think of one.
Yeah.
But just through the years, like I obviously got better, and then I kind of got a voice too. Like I wasn't quiet, shy Haley anymore. I was like, oh, that's like sassy Haley, and like, yeah, and obviously created, better relationships with people. But I would say a moment that really sticks out to me was probably when I made the games for stage one in 2020, just because it was a very small environment, but it was all the people that had helped me get there. It was in Rich's barn. That one really sticks out for me.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You briefly mentioned you've done so many workouts that one doesn't really stand out to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for people to take note on, because all of us, including myself, we get a little like pre-workout anxiety sometimes. We put so much like pressure on the workout that we're about to do. This episode is brought to you by Mush. My friends over at Mush created an incredibly cool product of ready-to-eat overnight oats. And for those of you that listen to the podcast often, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And Mush has done just that, as their products have no more than 7 clean ingredients that are dairy-free, gluten-free, with no added sugar. Mush started right here at Invictus, as they had a vision to create convenient, healthy, and clean nutrition. And this landed them on Shark Tank, where the famous Mark Cuban invested in them. Now they're found in retailers all over the country, including Costco, Sprouts, Target, and Whole Foods. Check out my friends over at www.eatmush.com. And in the grand scheme of things, we're not going to remember the workout, and it really doesn't matter. It's like
Yeah,
give your best effort and then move on.
yeah, I could. There's like a few ones that weirdly stick out, but
Hmm.
other than that, I don't know. It's all a blur. I couldn't tell you what I did last week.
Yeah, seriously.
I can't do it.
I've been fortunate in some of the most recent CrossFit events to cross paths with your agent, your manager, and your good friend Bijan. And he represents my good friend Chandler Smith. Shout out to Chandler, seventh, the fittest man in the world.
Yeah.
Had an awesome year this year, and he has a very, very beautiful last name.
Yep.
But yeah, Bijan's been a cool dude. It's been fun getting to know him a little bit and crossing paths with him and getting to meet Noah Olson as well. And he and I seem to always talk about things outside of CrossFit, including basketball and photography.
Yep.
What's your journey been like with Bijan, and what's his role kind of in Haley's life?
Yeah, so I started working with Bijan, I think in 2022, the beginning of it.
Hmm.
And he kind of really helped shape like a lot of my sponsors, and honestly, even besides professionally, he became such a good friend to me first, which was really important. It wasn't like, hey, I'm an agent, like, I want to help you make money so that I can make money. It wasn't like that at first. Like, he became a friend of mine, and Tasia's. So I knew he had a really good heart and was someone that I genuinely just wanted to keep in touch with. Like, anytime I would see him before we even worked together, I'd be like, Bijan, like, what's up? Like, just good vibes all around. So when we had the opportunity to work together, I was like, absolutely. Like, it just made sense at that time. And honestly, we've done so many crazy things together. We've gone to lots of trips together. And I'm just very, very thankful for him because he's also someone that when I look at this journey of people that have helped me, he's one that sticks out by far.
Yeah, he definitely brings a peaceful energy, which I appreciate, and has the tools in his toolbox to have conversations in a wide
Yeah.
spectrum of categories, which is always very fun.
He sees the big picture.
Yeah, which
Always.
which is a really cool thing because there's so much more to a human, right? Like you
Yeah.
have a human being first and foremost, and then somewhere within that is an athlete. And there, I think you've kind of really popularized that you're so much more than an athlete.
Hmm.
Will you touch on that a little bit? Because it's so awesome to see you writing captions and things around, hey, I'm doing it for me this time. I'm smiling for the first time in a long time.
Yeah.
I'm chasing the pump. You're being witty. You're getting artsy in your posts. You're
Yeah.
putting things out there that I think show a little bit more of your personality, which
Yeah.
I think is fun for everybody.
Yeah. For a while, I just had a hard time with social media. I just didn't really want to be on it. Like, I just felt like I was lying or wasn't truly express myself because I wasn't in a great place, and I just didn't want to put on a persona that I was, oh, look how happy I am, like, look how good life is, when it's not. Um, so once I truly started to like heal myself and my relationship with CrossFit and even social media, of like feeling like I don't have anyone to please, I was like, let's just have fun with it. That's what Bijan said too. He was like, let's just be Haley. Like, if you want to do a random photo dump of like just random things because that is something that you would do, then you should do that. And I was like, wait, you're right. Like, it doesn't have to be all these perfect photos of me working out or this or that. Like, it can just be whatever. So I just started to have like fun with social media again and express myself and like what I want to post. And yeah, that's kind of what you see now.
I think that's important, right? Like be unapologetically yourself, not feel like you have to only post for sponsors or the notoriety or showing just
Yeah,
training. And
exactly.
and also I like what you said around it doesn't have to be professional photos. I like the messiness.
Yeah, I do too.
Like that's something I love about podcasting is there's going to be you're going to misspeak sometimes, but
It's not
that's what a
perfect.
normal conversation is. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's 100% well-spoken and articulate all the time. Otherwise, you'd be reading off a teleprompter and we'd be robots.
Exactly, and that's not how it is. And Bijan was like, look at your favorite artist or one of your favorite people, and that for me is Billie Eilish. And her whole feed is just random iPhone photos. He's like, the best camera that you have is your iPhone.
Hmm. Might
Like
be in your
that.
pocket.
Yeah, it captures every real moment that you have. Like, yeah, it doesn't have to be a perfect photo.
Hmm.
So,
That's awesome. I read something on your page around the nobody can go back and make a new beginning. Anyone can start over and make a new ending.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts when I say that? And how are you, kind of in pursuit of like, you know what, I can't go back and change what was, but I can be in the now. I can be where my feet are, and I can change the narrative moving forward.
Yeah, like I can't change what happened to me or, the rabbit hole that I fell down or anything. I can't change any of it. And to be quite honest, I'm grateful for it because I don't think I would be at the highs that I'm at now without the lows. Um, but yeah, I think that I have the power now to write the ending that I want and not what anyone else wants, but what Haley wants. And I think that that's very powerful. And yeah, I have the power to do that.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
For other people that are big fans of Haley Adams, big fans of your journey, your narrative, the growth that you've gone through, the peaks and valleys, and the overcoming of adversity, what advice would you give to some of those people that are following your narrative, and how would you like them to reach out if they had questions? Is it via DM, or what's a way where people can connect with you and learn more about the tools and the strategies that you used? Because it's amazing to see you thriving.
Yeah, and that's something that I definitely want to start sharing more of because it's still like, while I sound probably really well spoken about it right now, it's finally just clear to me now. Like, so I just wanted to make sure I had all the right tools. Like, it's something that I want to share. And like, whether that's a YouTube video or like I make more Instagram stories or post about it. But yeah, I check my DMs pretty often. And I have actually answered quite a few of people just reaching out, be like, you've helped me so much, or you helped me get recovery from an eating disorder, or like you helped me go to therapy. Like, I always try to respond to those. So DM would be the best.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Going into the eating disorder, how did that begin? How did you kind of like take hold of that and be like, you know what, this isn't the best anymore.
Yeah.
I want to seek the appropriate help and make a change.
Yeah, so back to the extreme thing that I always go to extremes. It started off as like diet culture, right? But slowly through that path, I kind of became obsessed with just like the way I looked, or like feeling like I was fat, or like, which explains the oversized t-shirts if anyone ever wonders why I wear them.
Now they're like a thing though, right? Like now it's like super style. You may have started a trend.
Yeah, it's cool now, but in my head I'm like, these people look so happy, and I'm literally just trying to cover up because I have body dysmorphia. But yeah, it kind of got pretty bad in 2021. Like it's pretty obvious, like I'm sure looking on the outside, of like the way my body would change throughout the year. But 2021 got pretty bad, and I almost was punishing myself in ways of like, I would work out so hard and like go to bed hungry and be like, yes, I did a good thing, Like the feeling of hunger was like, I thought it was good. And I was just, it's hard to explain mentally when you're in a space like that because, again, you don't know unless you've been through it. So especially when you have people noticing and they're like, eat, eat, eat. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like 2021, yeah, it was really bad. I actually ended up, I think it was that year. Yeah. I was having some like weird health problems. So I went to the doctor and they basically knew right away. So that was kind of like the thing of like, let's get better, So I got 2022 semifinals was probably the best my body has been, like health-wise. Like I was fueling myself. I had muscles. Like I looked good. I looked healthy. And then after that, had a bit of like a spiral again. And kind of just, it's not hard to look at photos. Just kind of lost a lot of weight again and was not fueling myself properly, and also contributes to the mental health side of like feeling like you're not good enough and just trying to harm myself in other ways. So I think that's where the deep rooted part of it came, was like I thought I was, doing something good by harming myself or punishing myself, if that makes sense.
No, totally. And I really appreciate you sharing that. I know it's not an easy conversation to have. And I'm sure there's many other people out there that navigate that challenge for sure. And it's so easy to throw out advice, right? Just eat, just do this. But it's like,
you don't get
that's
it.
That's not the way it works. And I think most of us are genuinely trying to do the next right thing.
Yeah.
And it has positive intent. but inevitably we justify it in our head, right? Like, oh, if I do this, I'm going to get this stimulus or this look, and then it's going to be good because it's going to lead to what I want, which is looking a certain way or performing a certain way or getting, the external validation. And I think the growth and maturity that I'm seeing from you is you're not afraid anymore. You're willing to share it because it allows you to grab hold of it and be like, hey, I know you exist. It's not this straightforward linear healing journey. It's this spiraled, messy thing.
Right.
But now you have the strength and the courage to be like, hey, when that little demon comes back, I have the tools, I have the courage. And even if there are slip-ups on occasion, you grab hold of it and you're like, no, I've spent time with you before and it didn't end well.
Yeah.
I'm going to remove you from my life.
Exactly. And I think being in a sport full of like aesthetics, like we all, we look different. Like us females are so strong and like, everyone has something to say, where that's where I kind of became pretty big on like, let's not comment on the way people look, because what people didn't realize is like, oh, Haley's the smallest one, like she's so small. All they were doing was feeding it. I'm like, oh, I'm the smallest one. Yes, like it's working. That's why it made me realize it's like, you don't know what someone's going through or what they're battling. Like no matter what, like you just never know. So it definitely opened my eyes to it. To be like, just don't say anything.
For sure. Everyone has a story we know absolutely nothing about. And that's why I love in your Instagram bio, it's like, be kind.
Yeah.
It's so simple. It's so you. And it's also like such a powerful message that kindness sparks so much love in the world, so much magic in the world. I mean, just think, somebody going through a hard time, a small little smirk or just a look of acknowledgement or, Sam Dancer's the epitome of that. I mean, when he comes to San Diego, that dude gives the best hugs.
Oh, yeah.
He's such a vibe creator, and him and Bickle and Chandler and Jesse, like certain people just get it. They understand kindness to the max and they elicit positive frequency. And I think you're doing that. I felt it when we crossed paths and I'm like, this is cool to feel.
I'm like, yeah, I feel like a different person now, and I just want to spread it to everyone else and also just enjoy life, and wherever that takes me, it takes me.
I love that.
Yeah.
What's to come next for Haley Adams? Do you think you'll eventually write a book on all this?
I would love to write a book one day. There's no plans right now of that, but I definitely think it's a story worth telling. But I think there's more to add to that story, like not just from right now, like maybe in a few years, but I definitely want to add more to it.
Totally. Well, Haley, I love what you're doing. I think it's so cool that you're going on. You started with a listening tour, and now you're going on a tour sharing your story and motivating, inspiring knuckleheads like me that really love peeling back the curtain, as you can see with the little Banksy behind me.
Love it.
And you're doing it to the beat of your own drum. You're doing it with flair, with art, with Haley swag. And it's so awesome to see you smile and share that with those around you. And I just want to compliment you from afar. Huge air hug to you. Stay on the path, stay on the journey.
Yeah.
And any final thoughts that you'd love to share with our community?
Yeah, I think just stay true to yourself and make sure you take care of yourself too, and your mental health. Mental health matters.
It really does. You're the best. And I look forward to seeing that fierce little side look in the sport for years to come, and for you kind of just doing it your way, having fun, doing your thing, and good luck in your travels back to Tennessee.
Thank you.
And getting back after it with your training partners. I'm sure they'll be incredibly excited to see you next to them.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
For those of you listening or observing on YouTube, if you enjoyed my conversation with Haley Adams today, please rate, review, subscribe, and share with your friends. And as always, stay on the hunt for who you've not yet become. Till next time, guys. We are beyond excited to be working with Wizard Sciences for total brain and body optimization. This partnership came through personal experience with the benefits of their incredible product line and a deep human connection with their founder and former guest, Ion Mitchell. Wizard Sciences isn't just for humans. They also have a canine formula to help our four-legged friends recover from long hikes, grueling fetch sessions, and keep your pups doing all the things that they love. Give Wizard Sciences a try and become as close to limitless as you can get. Use code Invictus Mindset for 15% off your order. Once again, that's Invictus Mindset for 15% off your order. Are you over 35 and in need of a solid training program? Are you looking to improve your athleticism and keep up with the younger athletes in your CrossFit gym? Then look no further than our Invictus Masters program. This program places year-round emphasis on mobility and stability exercises with movements that we have seen directly benefit our Masters athletes. Our program is led by Nicole DeHart and offers a training program designed specifically for Masters athletes who are looking to compete at a higher level in the sport of CrossFit. Some of our top Masters athletes in the world train with us, including CrossFit Games champion Kevin Kester, Matt Beals, and Pat Sprague. You can learn more about their stories and the Invictus Masters program by checking out their episodes right here on the Invictus Mindset Podcast. If you'd like more information about the current training cycle or to join the Invictus Masters program, please email Nicole at invictusathlete.com. That's Nichole at invictusathlete.com.